We are live, ladies and gentlemen. 1 hour and 33 minutes into this transmission. We're launching the coffee party, as I announced 2 months ago we were going to do. Now Obama has launched a fake coffee party, and we've analyzed it. It's run by one of his former operatives. It's an illegal alien party. And you talk about treason, bringing illegal aliens in and then using them as a political weapon. This is amazing. We're going to be covering this more coming up in the rest of the broadcast. But for the next 25 minutes, Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer, highly decorated veteran. They had Al-Qaeda targeted. They had Osama bin Laden targeted in the months before 9/11. We're not allowed to go in. A lot of that's been declassified. Quite a bit of it isn't. His new book coming out in a few months is going to detail, but it's going through the review process with the Pentagon. Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer is a Bronze Star recipient, more than 25 years of experience in intelligence community, including directing the Defense Intelligence Agency Task Force, Stratus Ivy. Under the lead Stratus Ivy, conducted some of the most daring and innovative human intelligence collection and information operation ever undertaken by the Department of Defense, as well as providing information to support the SOCOM program Able Danger. And he is currently a senior fellow with the External Communications Director of Special Lecture at the Center for Advanced Defense Studies, Washington, D.C. He instructs classes in psychology of terrorism and intelligence analyst, and we're honored to have him on with us. Good to have you here.
Good to be on. Thank you again, Alex. Have a back. So sorry about that.
I want to recap your story, get into the latest developments. Right. But you had said off air to me you saw my piece on Geraldo Saturday, and I find it suspicious that within an hour and 5 minutes, the media was already knowing this guy was supposedly a 9/11 truther. And I question, why does the media love to demonize 9/11 truth and try to tie it in with violence when there never was any history of it? They pre-program people for that. I mean, I really see some type of a setup here. I think this whole thing is very suspicious.
Well, I think obviously there are people looking for rationale and reasons for actions that clearly are random. In some cases, I think you mentioned, we talked about that there's kooks out there who simply get well off the beaten path. They adapt whatever view they think is closest to their view of the world. And I think in this case, the individual just, lost it. And I'm the anti-terrorism officer of the division I'm in right now, too. And this is something the Army is actually looking at is how individuals can become unstable. And it's an issue which happens all across society. As a matter of fact, Alex, I recall hearing today somewhere else one of the individuals went bonkers and started shooting people again in the workplace. So, to try to equivocate a kook's attack on the Pentagon and lump it into, try to lump him into a larger organization simply doesn't make sense, especially when you're talking about doing it within hours of the event. I mean, you and I both know to do a thorough investigation, even do a triage investigation, it would take days. So, for anyone to jump within hours and say this guy's associated, you got to wonder what the agenda is, because clearly someone's not being objective. And it's funny because if and I'm going to say this, and it's probably not politically correct, if the guy was Muslim, they would have taken hours and days to try to push away the fact that he was of Muslim descent, because there's a complete opposite take. If someone with a certain background, for example, the Major Hassan thing, it took him nearly 5 hours to disclose that he had a Middle Eastern name. So there's a real problem with perception going on in the press right now. They're ready to jump one way, but they will not jump another. And this to me tells the fact that there's a real problem with objective reporting. So. Okay,
well, take the Fort Hood shooting. It turned out for 2 years he was walking around praising suicide bombers. He was communicating with these Al-Qaeda operatives who are well known, and the CIA has declared national security and won't give Congress those emails. With the shooter at the Pentagon, his family warned months before and weeks before about it. Nothing was done. We have the underwear bomber. I don't know if you're aware of this, but it even came out in Detroit News. The Undersecretary of the State Department said, we were ordered by an unnamed U.S. intelligence agency. Sounds just like what happened to you and Stratus Ivy. We were told to let him have his visa and help him get on the plane. And we have the witnesses, Kurt Haskell and others on the plane, saying a sharp-dressed man without ID, without passport, got him through security in Amsterdam, past the scanners, onto the plane. The FBI said that wasn't true at first, now said, okay, It is true. It looks like something more is going on. I mean, at bare minimum, they're leaving the door open for these people.
Well, and there's a real risk versus gain, and let me divert just a bit here, but I think it's still on topic. I believe the Badadar arrest was something similar. I think we were, frankly, getting a lot of intel take out of Badadar while he was still in Badadar, for those of your listeners that maybe not understand who he is, he was the number two Taliban guy in Pakistan, wrapped up in Karachi a while back, just a few weeks ago. I'm hearing, and I've got this both from British sources and American sources, look, he was kind of neutralized where he was at. He was being monitored, and Alex, that's one of the things that the intelligence community does do. They will target someone and let him sit. They will know everything he's doing because the simple fact of their existence and their actions allows us to track back who they're talking to. And again, this goes back to Able Danger. That was what we were doing. We had a few known contacts. We wanted them to exist. We wanted to see who they were talking to and figure out where the cells were. I mean, it's all linked together. It's one big happy family. It's a social network. So I think when you look at the underwear bomber, it's very possible they were allowing him to do something, and they may have thought this was a dry run.
No, they've now said that. They've now admitted. The State Department's admitted that.
Yeah, frankly, that we know that the Al Qaeda and especially when they're doing a major attack, will do rehearsals. James Woods, the actor James Woods, actually witnessed one of the rehearsals when he flew out of Boston right before 9/11. He actually reported to the FBI, and they kind of blew him off. So frankly, that may have been what's been going on here, but it doesn't make it right because clearly the pieces were all there. There are indications this guy had been radicalized. He was been trained, and going towards the idea of Badadar, I think Badadar was not arrested because we wanted to get more intelligence out of him. I think in some ways he was arrested to neutralize him because one of the things we have to remember, Alex, is Badadar was the main contact between the Taliban and the Pakistani ISI. So, I think the last thing in the world the Pakistani ISI wants is a Taliban guy talking about who in the ISI, the Pakistani ISI, is bad. So, I preach this on the air every time I go on. You've got to look deeper at a story. You cannot take things at face value because there's always more. And frankly, there's multiple competing agendas, and it's very tough, as you know, to get past the agendas and get to the truth.
Well, let me expand on that because we know about the airlift of evil. Here's the MSNBC article. Why did we let Pakistan pull volunteers out of Kunduz? And over again, Special Forces commanders would capture top Taliban, Al-Qaeda, and thousands of fighters. And they were ordered, let them go, send them to Pakistan. And we know time and time again, it's like this Adam Gadon thing. They say Pakistan captured him, and then we hear, oh no, he wasn't captured. Was he pulled in? He's the grandson of one of the ADL founders, this right. Super anti-Muslim guy. Then now he's the voice of Al Qaeda. I mean, give me a break. We know there's all these double and triple agents out there. So we hear somebody gets captured over and over again, and we know about these airlifts of evil. What's your take on that?
Well, I think you're absolutely correct. I mean, that's one of the issues we have to look at here is what is the real story? And let's talk about the Gaddan thing or Pakistan in general. Frankly, one of the things that's been seen several times lately is the Pakistanis trying to maintain control of the Taliban. And in many ways, they see the Taliban as Iran sees Hezbollah. They do I view it as a separate but capable component of their national strength. Therefore, when you start looking at how it works, who's involved, you've really got to question what their motives are, what the Pakistani motives are when they do anything. And to underscore your point, absolutely. Back in 2003 was one of the first indicators that we knew, and I briefed General Barno, the commander of forces, on it, that Taliban ISI elements were not only participating, they were captured. There was an ISI female operative captured in a Taliban raid in Afghanistan in 2003. So, we have indicators going back to 2003 that they've been riding both sides of the rail. And in this case, we've really got to look at how they're doing it. Now, one of our senior fellows, Chris Mason, came out recently in Foreign Affairs, it's a publication, and talked about the fact that he thinks that everything we're seeing right now is being orchestrated by the Pakistanis, not because they support us, but they're working out of their own enlightened self-interest to re-insinuate themselves into the negotiations with us and the Taliban, because they know if the Taliban breaks off, from them and negotiates with us, that the Taliban, the Pakistanis lose. They lose control. So I think you need to look at everything that goes on here as a big chessboard and figure out that sometimes sacrificing a pawn is a good thing if that means you can protect your queen. And I think that's what we're doing here, what's going on here. Every time a move is made, you got to look at the chessboard and figure out, okay, what's going on over here on the other side of the chessboard? What did we not see? And for example, the Marja campaign, again, that's been something that's been going on for a while. We have yet to understand what, if any, effect that's going to have in long-term winning of the war. And winning, again, I think you and I talked about this, but we have to redefine our definition of victory, of winning. So, we've got to look at this. We've got to look at Pakistan and Afghanistan as a whole, and we cannot win Afghanistan, whatever measure, whatever definition you use to define winning or victory. We cannot win in Afghanistan unless we win in Pakistan. And right now, I think the picture is too muddled to make a good judgment if we're making progress in Pakistan or not.